Sam, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much. So, this is the second episode of Conversations with Guests. The previous one was with Anders Sporring, but now we are very welcome to have Sam here. So, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing nowadays?
So I guess I'll rewind back to my kind of late teens and stuff. So
Yeah, you
early
can do
on
it.
in my life, I'm got kind of a music background, I guess. So music was, I wanted to be in a band. I wanted to kind of play music and stuff. I'd always played guitar, and I went off and studied music technology at college and university. Went really well. I enjoyed it and stuff. But I wasn't really in the right headspace, I guess, to pursue that kind of thing. I had ideas to be a sound designer, which I'm pausing. Yeah, I had ambitions to be a sound designer, and I was pursuing that career, and I had my sound reel sort of reviewed, I guess, by some people I really looked up to, and they basically demolished it. They it was all constructive criticism, but I took it to heart and I basically gave up on that dream. And but since then I kind of started working on myself basically, and I read a book called Happiness by Matthew Ricard, which basically talked about happiness as a skill that can be learned. And yeah, since that day, I'd started working on my happiness skill, I guess. And yeah, I've kind of improved my life tremendously since then. And I'm continuing to kind of find out ways of improving myself, I guess.
Yeah, the funny thing is, like, we only talk for a few minutes. I can already sense the happiness coming through all the way from the UK. So I would confidently say that you've been reaching a very well level in terms of the happiness thing. So we'll come back to it later. But I want to go back to the music because I personally has a music background as well. I played a lot of guitar and went
Oh,
to
awesome.
music university in 1 year. So this when you bring back these memories, I feel so much nostalgia, so to speak. So
That's cool.
just as like more what you say, um, nitty gritty. Nitty gritty question. What kind of music did you like at that time, and what were your influences?
So kind of back in the day, like my younger years, I was really into the punk kind of scene, but like I guess, more modern punk rock type stuff, like the Green Day and the
Ah, yeah.
Blink-182 and Offspring and all stuff like that. And that was my dream. I wanted to be in a punk band basically, and that's what we started when I was probably 12 maybe, when my band kind of got together. And as the years progressed, we got heavier and heavier. Because initially I absolutely hated screaming in songs. I didn't like metal or anything like that. But yeah, as I got older, we started to incorporate more screaming, and I actually screamed in the band. I was the screamer, frontman, guitarist type thing. And then when we were 18, I think it was, we split up, and me and the other guitarist formed a kind of acoustic duo thing. And this was probably when I was 18, and it was about the time when I was kind of getting into weed and stuff like that, and I was calming right down. And I got a lot more into the kind of acoustic reggae, hip hop, that kind of stuff. And that's sort of where I am at now, I guess. I've dabbled with kind of producing music, obviously at college and university and stuff. And yeah, I mean, I've got a wide range of music that I like, though. Obviously, studying it, you're exposed to experimental stuff and blues and whatever else. So yeah, I guess I got a wide range, but it's all just for fun now. I just kind of pick up the guitar occasionally for a bit of a jam session, I guess.
Yeah, and you still play like from time to time, even like produce with modern kind of music software still, I guess.
Yeah, so
Keep the spirit.
it's getting it kind of fluctuates. So I'll have points where I'm kind of producing a lot, mainly like lo-fi hip hop kind of stuff, I guess. But I've got my guitar and a piano behind me, and I'll basically just play it as a way to keep me happy, as opposed to writing and releasing anything. I don't do anything like that. Basically with my guitar, I've got a loop pedal, and
Oh
I'll
yeah,
sit down and I'll
so good.
create a loop, and I'll spend anywhere up to like 3 hours or so just working on this loop and soloing over the top and having loads of fun building it up, and then I'll just bam, delete, gone forever, and that's it. I don't save it, and sometimes I'm a bit gutted because I do like the loop, but I would never be able to recreate it. It all just kind of comes on a whim, and then yeah, it gets deleted.
Yeah, it's like the magic of the moment when you're so into the flowy state that we can, of course, mention back in the later
Yeah.
stage of this episode. And we can, of course, talk for hours since we have this shared interest. But I want to, because you mentioned that you were more on the technological side. Was that right when you were into more music academic, so to speak?
Yeah, so I went on and studied music technology at
Yeah.
college, and then music and sound technology at university. So yeah, that was more around the yeah, like recording side of things. That was why I did it to start with, is I wanted to record live music, that kind of stuff. But as I went through the courses, I took a massive interest in creating sound effects for film and game, and I'd go out and I'd record sound effects, I'd mix them and kind of create different things. Yeah, and I got into that side of things, but yeah, went nowhere basically.
Okay. So I guess it was kind of a creative period in which you can like imagine like, okay, what does this sound like? And then trying to recreate it using your own like means and stuff like that. And I guess that you had some people in which they were interested in what you had to offer for them. And you have formed some professional relationships by this way, I guess.
Yeah, so yeah, I was working towards trying to become a sound designer, and I'd obviously be in talks with people that were creating games and stuff, and I was doing game jams. So it's where you essentially get with a team of people and try and create a game in a fully fledged game in a week, and then you have awards, all that kind of stuff, which was really fun. I absolutely loved it. Even now, I'll be walking along and I'll hear a sound, I'll be like, oh, that's a cool sound, and stuff. I mean, my wife used to hate it because we'd go on walks, and I'd bring my microphone and recorder with me, and I'd get her to kind of
So
walk through the
romantic.
mud.
Just go to the
Yeah,
other
yeah.
place.
Going in for the kiss, but oh, too soon.
Ah,
Yeah, she wasn't a fan, but she was fully supportive. I mean, she's amazing. She yeah, she'd walk backwards and forwards in the mud, she'd splash, she'd do all this stuff so I could record it.
did you meet each other during this like music technology phase during career, or was it after that? When was
No,
that?
we met really early actually, and so we met whilst I was at school. We were 15, I think.
Oh, that's a
Yeah,
long time.
really young, and which is actually quite rare now, to be
Yeah,
fair. But yeah, we met at 15. It was kind of a mutual friend, like
but then it grew
between
and
us,
it
I
grew and
guess.
it became, yeah. I
Yeah.
guess.
But yeah, we got married last year. But we've been together, 11 years it'll be.
Okay, that's a very long time. So I guess that you learned a lot during how to basically cope with each other's differences, and especially when to use a mic or not. So to
Yeah, I still haven't worked that one out.
well, each one has their own signature, so to speak, and it's
Yeah.
probably something that they would appreciate as well, although it doesn't really look like from the visible end, so to speak. But from what I understood, like transitioned over from music technology into another place where you're probably at now, if it wasn't any transitions before or in between those episodes as well. So could you walk a little bit in detail in terms of what happened after you basically had the microphone as your tool?
Yeah, so I guess throughout my kind of college and university years, I was sort of getting into like Buddhism kind of stuff, I guess. And I guess maybe it was partly to do with the weed, possibly, I don't know. But I was getting into that kind of self-improvement-y, like different ways of living and that kind of
higher
thing.
states.
Yeah, like, and meditation, that kind of stuff I was experimenting with. And I feel like at the time it was probably more to, like, I guess have a different I can't think of the word I'm looking for, like a different mindset, like meditating to try and like experience something. Obviously now I realize that's like completely probably wasn't the best reason for me to do it, I guess. But yeah, I was obviously dabbling with that, and then I kind of got addicted to the kind of self-help, self-improvement area, I guess, but wasn't implementing any of it. I was just addicted to watching the videos and reading the books and taking the courses and almost tricking myself into thinking that I was improving because I was consuming all this content. And I could regurgitate it all, but I wasn't actually doing anything with it. And then, I obviously read that happiness book. And I'm not saying that it was, I guess, solely that, but something in that sort of switched it in my head. And I started to, I guess, experiment with different things. I started to exercise, I'll try different forms of exercise. I started to meditate for longer and try different things. And it would always fluctuate. I would do it for so many months, then it would fall off and I'd go back to where I was for more months, and it went in this kind of cycle. And I basically gave up on it. I kind of thought it would never work for me. I was always just someone that wasn't disciplined. I couldn't stick to it. And then I guess it was just persistence. Although I kept on falling off, I'd always move back to it because I knew I felt better whilst I was exercising and doing all this stuff. And I guess it's the periods of time that I was doing it just got longer and longer until now, where I could never see myself not doing it, I guess, because I know how good it feels for me.
Yeah, but I guess like when you were absorbing so many of these like self-improvement, both in books and courses, you mentioned the happiness book, but do you have any other very influential core pieces that you like go back to regularly on to fetch some inspiration, so to speak? Do you have any other favorites that you would like to share?
Yeah. So I guess obviously the stoicism side of things came from that, and I think A Guide to the Good Life by William B. Irvine was like a really good introduction almost into stoicism for me and what it is. And then like Ryan Holiday's books and stuff I really enjoyed, because back in the day I was never a reader basically, so reading the kind of original stoicism stuff at the start was quite difficult for me, and it didn't really work for me, so I tended to gravitate towards the easier reading stuff, and I got a lot more from that. And then I've almost moved on to the other stuff after, and I'm trying to think of other books. I mean, there's so many books that I've got a lot
so
from.
Much in that world.
And because I always found it hard to remember things from books, I guess, and like pinpoint things. But then I'm trying to think who it was. I was reading something from, it might have been Ryan Holiday actually, and he was basically saying that although we may not remember like entire books, we pick up on like these slight things subconsciously, and I think we subconsciously kind of implement them into our life almost, even though we can't pinpoint where we got that tidbit of information from. You kind of internalize the gist of the book, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, so that's kind of usually the way for me too, that you pretty much get the piece from there, one more of the jigsaw from another one, in order to basically assemble your own life philosophy, so to speak. And that's something that I will talk later in this episode. But before we do that, I want to give a little bit of snapshot where you're at now. Like, could you describe what you're doing both for a living, but also other kinds of side hustles, so to speak? What's the current
I mean,
day-to-day like for you?
Yeah, so I guess when would it have been? October, I joined Ship 30, or Ship 30 for 30, which has been one of the biggest changes in my life, either for a very long time or at least maybe even ever, because it's allowed me to form that kind of regular writing habit in the morning, which has almost solidified all my other habits together. So now my kind of morning looks like, well, my alarm will go off at 5:45, and I'll sit up in bed and journal, which I use the 5-minute journal. So you do like
classic Ryan Holiday.
Yeah, that's I can't remember who's by Intelligent Change or something like that. I can't remember now. But I got it. I think I found that through Tim Ferriss, possibly. But it was perfect for me because it didn't take too long. It was 2.5 minutes in the morning, 2.5 at night, roughly. But yeah, so I'll do that, fill in that journal, and then I'll get up, go downstairs. No, sorry, I'll get up and clean my teeth, and then I go in, meditate for however long, and then go downstairs, make my coffee, and come upstairs, and then sit down to write for an hour, which will be around about 6:15 till 7:15 now. And then I'll finish writing, and that's when my wife will be getting up, so I can sort of talk to her, and then maybe do like a bit of exercise and stuff, like not with her, but like talking to her. So, and the writing is almost solidified, all that, it's all kind of stuck around the writing. Yeah, so it's been really good for me. And yeah, I mean, just writing about all the stuff that I'm trying to improve in my life has been the best accountability partner ever.
Yeah.
And I've just been way more on it since kind of writing about it, especially the last few months. But since I started writing a weekly newsletter about 18 months or so ago, which again really helped kind of that accountability, I guess.
Okay, cool. And I find it so interesting that our morning routines are so similar, because I start my day quite early too. I meditate, and then I prepare breakfast, and then at exactly 6:15, this is one thing that I picked up upon. I basically put myself into this, what you say, sacred mode of writing and idea formation out to an external place, so to speak. So it's good that we are kind of in sync in terms of routines and stuff like that. So I guess that you have some kind of preparation, or at least some kind of cue and notes like the way before, that you kind of ponder a little bit before decide, like, okay, this is what I'm going to write about. This is roughly what I'm going to say, and basically just get it through, so to speak.
Yeah, so I'm actually really bad at planning, I guess. I tend to write a lot better if I plan the night before what I'm going to write about. But I mean, it's probably not best talking about my note-taking system or anything like that, because it is a mess. It's awful. I need to work on it, basically. But I essentially just have a giant list in Notion of any little tidbit that I pick up on, whether it's from a book or a video, or I don't know, a personal story that happens or anything like that. I kind of just whack it all in the same place, and then when I go to write, I literally just look through it and see what kind of sparks my interest and just start typing, I guess. I mean, I know it's not the most organized. I know it could probably be better, but it works so far for
Yeah,
me.
it sounds romantic too, that you basically just go to the flow and let the muse come in every day, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, I'm basically trying to organize things a bit better, and I'm hoping to dedicate my Sunday morning, rather than writing specifically, to dedicate it to like skeletoning out like articles or whatever it is, like just writing more notes in my notes, if you know what I mean. So then when I kind of go into them, I've got a bit more of an idea of what to write, because I mean, there's plenty of days where I sit down to write, and I'm just staring at like different notes, and I'm kind of, yeah, not really that focused on what to write, I guess.
Yeah, but you mentioned Ship 30, and I guess when it was October, it was kind of like the beginning of it. It was more of the early stages. How did you find it out, and what impact did Dickie and Cole make for you?
Yeah, I found it because I used to, well, I still do read quite a lot on Medium, and it was just a few articles that I was reading had at the bottom written for Ship 30 for 30 or something like that. So it interested me, and yeah, looked at what it was, and sounded awesome, basically. And yeah, I can't even explain how amazing the whole thing's been, even just because it introduced me to Twitter, which, I mean, before Ship 30, I'd kind of come off all social media. I just had Facebook for Messenger. But yeah, obviously I started my Twitter account for Ship 30 for 30, and I just think Twitter's awesome. I've met so many incredible people, including you, and like just doing this, it blows my mind. A few months ago, I mean, I've had, I mean, various different video calls with amazing people, and made some met some people that I really cool friends now, which I think is amazing. I think, yeah, I'm basically definitely in the honeymoon period of Twitter at the moment still. But I'm just, yeah, loving practicing tweeting and stuff like that. Yeah, it's been really cool. So, and obviously, I guess rewinding back to what you were saying about Dickie and Co, it's very inspiring watching them. Obviously, you've got Dickie, who is basically demonstrating what you can do on Twitter. I think he started obviously like a couple of years ago. So it's, yeah, showing what you can do on Twitter and do if you put your mind to it, I guess. And then obviously Cole has been writing for a decade or whatever.
He's a goat, so to speak.
Yeah, he's just got so much like knowledge, and my writing has improved a ridiculous amount from both of them, just all the tips that they say. So yeah, I mean, I'm a massive fanboy of Ship 30 for 30, basically.
Yeah. And for those of you listening right now who wonders like what is this Ship 30 for 30? Basically some kind of a hashtag formed by two amazing writers. One is called Dickie and one is called Nicholas Cole, Dickie Bush and Nicholas Cole. And what they have done is they have cohorts, quite regular cohorts or applicants to a certain course. And what they do as well, that they have this kind of challenge set out for all of them to for those who participate in, like, in 30 days, you will have to produce a small essay of whatever you feel like, but it has to be done. And it has to be sent off via social media, and usually via Twitter, I guess. So that's kind of like the main platform, so to speak. And then you receive feedback both from the community and both from them. So it's kind of like learning by doing phase. And I believe that's the absolute, no questions asked, best form of learning. And I guess that this is the way you were introduced to Twitter. And seeing as you're kind of let me phrase it correctly, a Twitter ninja right now, you're pretty much
Sorry?
a Twitter ninja. You're using Twitter a lot, and it's
Right.
it's very nice to see like all these different insights pouring out. That's some kind of a channel that's just been unblocked from all these years of not having to use social media from time to time, stuff like that. it's
Yeah.
cool that you have started from basically nothing, and then you got this engagement, both from a depth perspective, but also from more broadened view, both from a deep view and also from a broadened view. So what are your best tips for growing an audience for new tweeters, so to speak?
I mean, I think the best thing, I mean, I'm definitely not the best person to talk to about that stuff, I guess. But I mean, from my perspective,
Yeah.
the absolute biggest one has just been staying consistent with it, which is the most boring piece of advice ever. I mean, it gets spouted all the time, but kind of since starting Twitter, I've obviously started out posting the atomic essays every day, and I tweet 4 times a day, which has been massive because I kind of started out not having a clue what tweets did well and anything like that, and I've gradually started to kind of improve on tweet writing and stuff. But then I guess the biggest thing I'd say is just being human. I mean, I haven't really tried any specific growth tactics as such, I wouldn't say. More just being a human. Like, I've literally just had fun writing what comes into my head and sharing my knowledge, messaging people and meeting new people, and yeah, just chatting and making friends basically. I mean, I've just been having a blast. I'm not massively treating it as I need to grow as fast as possible or anything like that. I'm just having fun with it. It's just, yeah, basically just have fun, be human, meet people. I mean, yeah, share your knowledge and have fun with it, I guess. And
Yeah, and I believe
results
that's
would
something
come.
that many people need to hear, because it's like this common, what can you say, reputation nowadays that Twitter is a place where people are so angry at each other during writing and basically have some kind of like Twitter wars going on. But just as like you has it with your experience, I don't feel this kind of angry Twitter wars, because what matters at the end of the day is this what hashtag you follow and what people you follow. So you can kind of curate your own Twitter experience to be like, okay, these are my friends, these are my peers, these are my idols, so to speak. And then you can get both inspiration and then bring back to the community, so to speak. So you mentioned consistency, which of course, anything that is not consistent is not going to work out. That's just a simple fact. What are your tips? I guess routines are integral part, both when it comes to your writing, like 6:15 in the morning, very exact number, which is amazing for anchoring this routine. But what are your other tips for consistency rather than just like enjoying it in the moment, which of course is a big reason?
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing is making whatever it is you're trying to be consistent with, making it insanely easy. So, for example, when I first started with all this stuff, like trying to meditate, trying to exercise, I'd say, right, like I'm going full ham with this. I'm going to exercise 3 times a week, 2 hours a time. I'm going to meditate 10-20 minutes a day, whatever, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to eat healthy, and then I'd maybe keep it up for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that, and then it would drop off. And then it was only when I started kind of breaking it right down, and so take meditation for example, I would just do a minute a day, and I'd that was it. I'd meditate a minute a day, and then I'd increase it a minute every 2 weeks. So incredibly slow. Sitting down for a minute seemed completely pointless. Like, I wasn't getting any kind of results from it. And yeah, increased a minute every 2 weeks. And before I knew it, it was just automatic for me. But I, yeah, kind of couple that with I've got a planner that I X on every day that I complete certain habits. So I've got that like streak, I guess, which really, I know doesn't help some people, but really helps me. And yeah, making it easy, and also doing, for me personally, doing it in the same order every day. So I like having that routine, and like I said, like 5:45, wake up, then I do the journal straight away. And then I go in and like clean my teeth, and then I've linked the meditation to cleaning my teeth. So I don't know, in my head anyway, it just all kind of flows. So now the alarm going off, or it's actually my watch, to be fair, my watch vibrates. So that's the start, that's the signal. And then my brain just goes on loop and does the routine. But if I had started right at the start and I said, right, tomorrow I'm gonna wake up at 5:45, I'm gonna journal, and then I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna clean my teeth, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna meditate for 20 minutes, then I'm gonna write for an hour, then I'm gonna go and do a 30-minute yoga session, I would have stuck to that for a week. Absolute tops, probably 2 days. But because it's almost built up very gradually, is how I've been able to stay consistent with it, I guess.
Yeah, and for those of you who are listening right now, notice like the vocabulary and language that Samish is speaking, because what it all comes down to is habits in any shape or form. You have to know, like, okay, when should I start? How should I start? How do I know when it's time to start? And then, like, okay, what do I do? How can I scale it down so I actually do it? I mean, even on my worst days, probably most important during the worst days, and make sure to enjoy the process as well. So it all comes down to like instilling good, powerful, small in the beginning habits that like compound for later, because once you have that, you don't really think about them too much. So it's basically like a part of you, and once they become a part of you, then you basically do not want to get rid of them because they are a part of you.
Yeah.
So
and I guess you brought up a key thing there as well. I think you said something like especially on the bad days, and I think that's the key thing. I mean, I think I've said that there's about 20 key things so far, but it's being okay with. So basically, in my own thing, I get a minimum viable habit for each of my habits. So like meditation, minimum viable habit is a minute. So if for whatever reason I can't do it, I'm like, I don't know, miss it or whatever, super ill, or some reason don't have time, whatever, I will do a minute, and I'll literally, even if it's just sitting on my bed, shutting my eyes, I'll just do a minute just to complete the habit every day. And the same with exercise. I'm fully okay with just jumping down and doing 10 press ups or 5 press ups or running up and down the stairs for a minute, just so I'm doing something every day. I know there's a lot of people that don't like doing things every day because they like burnout or whatever. But for me personally, if I don't do it every day, it's very easy for me to drop off, because I've spoken about it before, kind of on Twitter and stuff. But the 2-day rule for me is massive, and it's if I miss a habit one day, then I have to do it the next. Like no questions asked. There's no questions asked. I got to do it the next day, because if I miss 2 days, then
it's over.
I think James Clear says something like, I'm going to butcher this now, but one missed day is normal, 2 missed days is you're starting a new habit, or something along those lines. A lot more articulate than me. But yeah, it's exactly that. I mean, I need to do this stuff every day to kind of keep at it, basically.
Yeah. So let's go over to your, what you say, when we talk about your philosophy, I want to touch upon your 2 fields of expertise. The first one is happiness, and the second one is stoicism. So let's start with happiness then. What is happiness for you? How do you cultivate it in your daily life? And what would you advise people who feel like they don't know how to be happy all the time? So that's 3 questions in one.
So happiness for me is more, I more like to think of it as contentment. I mean, that's what helped me. So rather than thinking of happiness, because I always used to think of happiness as this fleeting emotion, like I don't know, I got a promotion, so I feel happy, or I got a new
Excitement,
car.
joy, bliss.
Yeah, that's it. It was like joy and pleasure and that kind of thing. But the problem of that is it's fleeting and it comes and goes. And now I'd much rather look at happiness as like a constant, constant feeling of contentment, I guess, like peace of mind. So if something bad happens, or bad, then you can still feel happy, kind of for life in general, I guess, is what I'm saying. And then also on the flip side of that, that bad thing may not be bad. Like there is no kind of good or bad, I guess, because I don't know, say it's quite a brutal example, but say you miss the bus, you're late for the bus, you miss the bus, and you're really annoyed, you think that's a bad thing, but then that bus drives down the road and has a crash and blows up, say, I mean, crazy, mental example, but that bit of bad luck then turned into good luck. So I kind of look at it in that way, essentially. Like if something bad happens, it's not necessarily bad. It could be the catalyst to some good thing. Like, sorry, I'm waffling now.
No worries.
but
this is the place to do it.
Yeah, like I was saying about the putting my show reel in to be reviewed, the sound design thing by the professionals, and they absolutely slaughtered it. There was like loads of critique about it, all that kind of stuff. At the time, it absolutely crushed me. I felt like a massive failure. I gave up on those dreams. But then years down the line, when I looked back on that, that was almost my realization that at the time, and even at that time, I had a massive fear of failure. But without that bad thing happening, maybe I wouldn't have pursued all of this stuff that I'm pursuing now. Kind of everything bad that's happened in my life has led me to this point, and I'm insanely happy with where I am now, I guess. So yeah, that's a really long, non-articulate definition of happiness for me. But yeah,
but you got so many questions at once, so I liked it. I liked what I was heard and that I was hearing rather. And what I found very key phrase that you said was contentment, because this is like the same list that's like, if I do this, then I'll be happy. If I reach this position, then I'm happy. But it doesn't work, because then you get there, but then you have another horizon of stuff like that. So from one recent book, which was called Happy Sexy Millionaire by Stephen Bartlett, he said like very clearly, like in a way that I haven't heard it before, like it's either now or never when it comes to happiness. Either you're happy now, like, okay, this is where I'm at right now, and I truly like this. It's kind of like my own reinterpretation and doing what's best for me at the moment, or basically chasing a mirage or stuff like that. So I think it's very important to know that happiness is a choice rather than a destination. So
yeah, that's 100%, and that gets met with so much resistance. I mean, I've said it before about happiness being a choice, and I think when you don't see it as a kind of contentment, it is met with a lot of resistance, I guess. People don't think that it's a choice, but I think I've heard Naval saying about
Naval
kind of happiness being the same as
Naval.
Happiness being like fitness. Like you can choose to be fit by exercising and like eating healthy and that kind of stuff. The same way you can choose to be happy by researching happiness and reading books about happiness and how other people have achieved happiness, if that's what you want to call it. And replicating that. And I mean, for me personally, it's just been trial and error, basically. I'll read about something that apparently makes you feel happier or whatever. I've tried to implement it, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and then on to the next thing kind of thing. It's all, I guess, constant iterations for me. I'll just try things for a period of time. If they work, they work. If they don't, they don't. But yeah, I mean, I'm nowhere near, I guess, where I'd like to be. I still fall off. I still, I mean, yeah, I'm not. I definitely wouldn't say I'm there yet, but I'm on the right path, I think. Which is,
And as long as on your path, then you can enjoy it when it breezes the wind, so to speak. So let's talk about stoicism. We probably will repeat ourselves here, but I just want to hear you comment on like what you found the most useful from this ancient but highly, highly relevant philosophy of either like Seneca and Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus and everyone who were worshipping, or rather adopting stoicism as a tool rather. So how do you incorporate stoicism into daily life, and how do you advise people to basically not worry so much and start doing and responding rather than reacting?
Yeah, so for me, obviously I was saying before that I was kind of researching and into Buddhism to start with, but for me, I really liked the kind of premise of Buddhism and stuff, but it was the kind of some parts of it that didn't kind of I don't know what the word is, like sit correctly or sit right with me. I don't know. And I discovered stoicism, which obviously has a lot of crossover, but it just made so much sense to me. Like all this stuff I was reading about only worrying about what you can control, and kind of viewing obstacles as kind of opportunities and living in accordance with like nature and stuff like that. It just made so much sense to me. It just was so obvious. But I was reading about it, I was like, yeah, that sounds amazing. But I was like, it's impossible to implement. It's like, it's all just talk. No one actually feels like that. And I couldn't understand how you could implement it, I guess. But then, similar to the consistency thing we were talking about, I just started small with it. So like I'd let's think of an example, like say it would start raining and I'd be getting wet, and whereas maybe before I'd get a little annoyed with that possibly, or I'd be like, oh, I wish it wasn't raining, and instead of that I'd think, oh, I can't control this, like I've just got to live with it, like, and then think kind of turn it into maybe like a positive and like, oh, like it looks really cool or whatever. So I'd start small on that, and then maybe build up to maybe, I don't know, sat in traffic, and maybe the traffic used to annoy me, but then I'd bring it back and, oh, I can't control the traffic, so at least I can listen to more of my audiobook, or at least I can kind of listen to more of this song. And so then that started becoming like fine, and then I'd ramp it up again, and maybe I was stuck in traffic and I was going to be late for something then, which is ramping it up a little bit more. Whereas before I'd get annoyed, now I was like, oh, again, I can listen to more of my audiobook, and it's just a way for me to kind of practice it, keeping myself calm in these situations. And yeah, I guess I just started picking a technique and just gradually building and building and building until it would be like slightly bigger things that should have really affected me. And because I'd practiced so much with the smaller things, it was just another stepping stone, if you see what I'm saying. Like it was just that one step up from being late to something or whatever else. And yeah, again, I mean, I'm not nowhere near there yet. A lot of stuff still tends to bother me and everything, but yeah, day by day I'm kind of increasing the stuff that I can cope with, or whatever, however you want to say it.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about like embracing yourself at the moment and have some agency over what happens, and pretty much know when to accept it or when to take action. And for me, it gives such a, what can you say, relief, and also a sense of like both responsibility, but also some kind of control. Like, okay, everything that happens, it's not like fate or anything. I can actually do something about it, or at least reinterpret it in a very good way. So I guess it has served you a lot during the recent times, and not to mention COVID.
Yeah, that was a big thing, actually. I think that was one of the points when I realized how much stoicism had helped me, because start of the pandemic, obviously loads of stuff was changing. There was lockdowns and whatever else, and a lot of people were really struggling with it and struggling to kind of cope with it and checking the news, this, that, and the other. And it didn't really bother me that much. Like, obviously it was a bad thing. I don't know. I mean, I just saw it as, oh, I can like stay in, I can save more money, I can do whatever else. And that's what kind of prompted me to start kind of a newsletter, weekly newsletter, which was like helping people kind of cope or improve their mental health throughout the pandemic, because I was finding it okay. I mean, I guess it helps that I'm introverted, or fairly introverted, so I kind of enjoyed staying in.
Yeah.
But
having the world like not having at yourself like all the time, having some distance to it, it certainly might have helped. So I want to ask you, like, because now we've talked about Sam in the past, Sam in the present, but what are your future thoughts? Because there's always some like exciting project going on. So could you tell about what's been in horizon? Maybe you can showcase something that those of you listening can look forward to.
I mean, at the moment, this Twitter thing is kind of consuming my attention, I guess.
Go follow him on Twitter.
Obviously really loving kind of building up the audience and meeting new people and chatting to people and stuff. And I have an idea sometime in the future. I want to kind of build something that's along the lines of kind of help yourself to help others, and it's hopefully going to be based around some kind of maybe membership or something that people can join, and then with most of the money from it, I then kind of donate it to some kind of humanitarian project, or kind of help other people around the world. So it's helping people in like improve their own lives, and then with that kind of money or whatever it is, then pay that forward and also help people to get clean water and get shelter and just get the basic needs. Because it's just an idea at the moment. I wasn't going to share it with anyone, but I mean, I might as well. I might get some feedback on it.
It's all about the accountability, man.
yeah, I got to do it now.
Now we got the sap, and now it's time to grow.
But that's the idea, because I don't know. I feel like us with an internet connection, we've both got shelter. I've got a cup of green tea here. I can just boil the kettle, and we are insanely lucky, like so lucky to have any one of those things. And there are so many people around the world that don't have those, that I feel can and should. So I don't know, I just want to use the kind of gifts I've been given with all this stuff, and pay it forward and help others get that, I guess.
That sounds so nice and altruistic, and I wish you the best when it comes to like what is going to bring out both for yourself and for the others, so to speak. So as a last question, or rather second to last question, this is one question I always tell to all the guests, because here at the Total Living, it's all about creating an effortless and unstoppable life. So I want to ask you, what are your tips on creating your best life, both now and in the future? In your opinion?
I mean, creating the best life now, I mean, initially just saying, I guess, yes to a lot of stuff initially. like just being open to your curiosity, I think, because that's the only reason why I've kind of improved my life is just by following my curiosity. I was curious about self-improvement, curious about Buddhism, curious about stoicism, curious about exercise and meditation. All of that is just, I've been curious about things and I've gone down that path, and some paths I've taken I haven't liked, so I've retracted. Other stuff has stuck, and even to this day I'm just following my curiosity, because I think that's where it starts. So yeah, do that. And I mean, the biggest thing is just start small with it all. And I mean, if you want to improve your life, start small with exercise, meditation, and build up from there, because they are the keystones, I think.
Yeah, very nice answer. So where can people find you online, both in Twitter and probably some other place?
So my Twitter is IamSam_Williams.
I will link it in the show notes so you can check it out.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's cool. And I guess
you should follow.
Yeah, that's the main place to find me, to be fair. I did used to have a website up and running, but it wasn't being used too much. So I'm kind of in the midst of altering all that. But yeah, find me on Twitter. Definitely send me a message, because I love meeting new people, and it would be awesome to connect with some more people.
Yeah, get your daily dose of Sam Williams on Twitter every day. That's my advice. So thank you so much for taking your valuable time to speak with me, and have a very nice day.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This has been incredible. Really fun.